Welcome to Okaloosa Eye on Crime. This month we're going to go back to a cold case that continues to haunt investigators and the family of the missing girl. But we're also going to look for clues in a liquor store robbery and for the thieves who've been targeting game control devices.
That's right, and you can help solve these crimes through submitting tips to Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers, and we give you 3 simple and secure ways to do so. We've got a toll-free hotline, 863-TIPS. You can go to emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com and submit a web tip, or you can submit a tip via the P3 Mobile Tips application. So let's get started. First up, the Crestview Police Department is seeking a suspect in connection with a January 16th nighttime robbery of a local liquor store. Police were called to the Cash's Crest Liquor Store and Lounge at 1675 Ferdon Boulevard South about 8 p.m. in response to a hold-up alarm activation. The cashier told responding officers that she had been robbed at gunpoint. Now, she described the robber as a black male with a normal build, dressed in black. He came around the corner and pointed a black semi-automatic handgun at her as she emerged from the store's office. He then demanded the cashier place the money from the cash register in a Walmart shopping bag that he provided. Then he took off out the front door, headed south. And if you look at the security video, not only is it a pretty violent robbery, you can also see that he was wearing a mask and black gloves. So anyone with information, give us a call, 863-TIPS. Remember, it's completely anonymous.
And the Fort Walton Beach Police Department is looking for some fraud suspects for this next case. Back on December 13th, around 8:15, these 2 women paid for goods or gift cards at Publix on Miracle Strip Parkway with fictitious checks. The individuals attempted to pass the same fictitious checks at Publix on January 15th. When the cashier refused to do it, the individuals both got into a newer black or dark blue Mazda hatchback, and they are using fake Georgia and Alabama ID cards.
Yeah, and I think they've actually hit several Publix stores and other grocery stores around the area, so sure would like to know who they are. Next up, Defuniak Springs police are looking for 2 suspects who passed counterfeit $100 bills up there at the Walmart. Now, one of the suspects is described as a medium skin tone black male who was wearing black and red athletic wear and a red hat. The other suspect is described as a medium skin tone black female who was wearing a pink long sleeve shirt and blue jeans. The suspects went to different registers and presented the fake bills at both. Now, if you recognize either of them, take a look there. Give us a call, Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
And next up, we really need someone's help with this case involving a fatal shooting. It's a Crestview Police Department investigation, and they're being assisted by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. They're looking for any information in a shooting that killed a 22-year-old Crestview man. Officers responded to a report of shots fired at Crepe Myrtle Apartments, and that's at the corner of Lloyd Street South and Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. That was around 1:20 in the morning on October 4th, and that's where they discovered the victim who'd been shot in the head. He died later in the hospital, and police say there were several people on scene who took off when they arrived. Anyone with information, please contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers. You can remain anonymous, and you can also receive a reward of up to $3,000 if your information leads to an arrest.
And the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is asking for help identifying these individuals. Reference the theft of thousands of dollars worth of video game controllers from the Destin Walmart over the last several months. Now, on one occasion, the suspects were seen departing in a beige-colored, what appeared to be a Buick. On another occasion, they departed in a gray 2-door compact sedan, but they also seem to have been hitting some surrounding counties. Walmart stealing the same thing, the video game controllers. So sure would like to know who they are.
We got a couple of these rings that are circulating
Yes.
that are hitting Okaloosa County and some other counties. So if you're watching from somewhere else, we'll still take the information here or at the Crime Stoppers in your location.
That's right, and be sure to visit emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com because not only will you be able to view these and other unsolved crimes, we've got wanted fugitives as well on there, and we could always use your help with all of those. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office reassumed law enforcement and security responsibilities at the county's 3 airports in April of 2017.
And that's right, and with more than 1 million people arriving and departing from the Destin Fort Walton Beach Airport alone, the airport security unit out there is staying busy. The projections, too, are for growth and more growth. They focus on vigilance and visibility. The OCSO's Airport Security Unit was reestablished in April 2017. There are now 16 full-time deputies assigned, and they're on constant patrol, answering more than 9,800 calls for service during their 9 months back in operation. They conduct checks of every item that goes back to a secure area, and they work closely with Homeland Security.
Our primary response is providing security enforcing local ordinances, also enforcing state statute. We had 14 arrests last year at this airport alone, and we also cover the Crestview Airport and Destin Airport as far as providing security to the air crew, the staff.
In 2017, the Destin-Fort Walton Beach Airport accommodated more than 1.1 million passengers, making it one of the fastest-growing airports in the country. That pace is expected to accelerate further, with Allegiant Air announcing its establishment of a year-round base of operations here and expansion to 5 new cities. To enhance protection of all that activity and all those visitors, the airport security unit makes sure its constant presence is easy to spot.
Obviously, with law enforcement, uniform presence is always a big deterrent for crime, so that's what we try to accomplish out here. We have a good visibility, we've got good manning and good staffing now. We're at good staffing levels. The increase in passengers may create a need for us to increase our manpower out here.
Allegiant's expansion is expected to be a boon for the local economy and for the airport. And it's also good news because the airport security unit, which has a priceless mission, operates on airport-generated revenue, not property or sales taxes. To put the growth in perspective, here's a chart that shows the activity since 2015, where it grew from 776,000 over the years to 1,175,000 plus last year. Now, Allegiant kicks off its new routes to 5 more cities this spring or summer.
Yeah, and those new routes are going to include airports in North Arkansas, Evansville, Indiana, Concord, Charlotte, North Carolina, Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, and Lexington, Kentucky.
So more business coming this way.
Absolutely.
And now we've got some fugitives.
That's right, and we're going to start off today's list. We do want to remind everyone that they are wanted as of today's taping date, which is February 21st, 2018. First up is Billy Leon Thorne. He's 38 years old. He's wanted for sexual battery and violation of probation for aggravated assault, last known to live on Live Oak Church Road up in Crestview.
This next individual, also last known to live in Crestview. It's Eric Nathan Reynolds, and he's wanted for felony battery and VOP for aggravated stalking and burglary.
And deputies are searching for 31-year-old Dusty Lee McHouston. He's wanted for violation of probation for resisting arrest, battery on a law enforcement officer, and possession of a controlled substance, last known to live on Whitmer Ranch Road in Laurel Hill.
Moving over to Defuniak Springs, and Jolie Rochelle Johnson was last known to live there on Mixon Road. She's wanted for aggravated battery.
And some good news, Caleb Ledour Geddes, who was featured last month, has been located.
But still looking for Reginald Dwayne Muse. He's wanted for VOP on grand theft, burglary, and aggravated stalking.
And the Walton County Sheriff's Office, as well as everyone else, would certainly like to see this guy in custody, and that's Chad Alford. And he's wanted for aggravated assault and cause cruel death, pain, or suffering to an animal. He was last known to live on Powell Drive in Niceville.
Next up is Dennis Frederick Taylor Jr. He's wanted for failure to appear on a charge of fraud, providing false statements to obtain unemployment compensation. Last known address on Brook Street in Fort Walton Beach.
And a new face to the show is Shanika LaShawn Baker. She's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for felony violation of probation and failure to appear.
Also looking for William Brian Harnish, wanted for VOP on possession of a controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia, last known address Freeport.
20-year-old Leanne Summer Lawson is wanted for violation of probation for possession of cocaine, last known to live on Seibert Avenue in Destin.
Lucas Lorenzo Williams, he's wanted for armed robbery that took place in Defuniak Springs on October 27th of 2016. Last known address was in Pensacola.
And the Defuniak Springs Police Department is looking for Jonathan James Lucas, and they're trying to find him for armed robbery.
Timothy James Howard still on the list. He's wanted for larceny, resisting an officer and recovery of stolen property, and failure to appear on a fraud charge.
Last up on our first list is Stephen Sherman. He's 57 years old. He's wanted for extortion or threats, and he was last known to live on Vinings Way in Destin. Now, in last month's show, Sheriff Ashley talked about the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office accomplishments in 2017. Now, this time around, let's hear about some of the challenges from boosting the presence on area waterways to getting a medical examiner's branch office back in Okaloosa County.
Challenges, we've got a lot of them. We need to really sit down with our commissioners and cities and figure out a way to increase our marine presence on our waterways. The number of boating traffic or boating accidents, the number of boating fatalities, number of boating while under the influence. We've had multiple deaths this year, multiple drownings this year. We've had, even attempted kidnappings and other lewd and disorderly conduct, and it seems like we've turned our park, a national treasure, at Crab Island into almost a flea market. It is. We certainly need to increase our presence on the waterway, and of course that takes resources. Another thing we want to do is get our medical examiner's office. We've been working on it a couple years with our Board of County Commissioners. They increased funding to the medical examiner's office, which is for the First Judicial Circuit. But Walton County and Okaloosa County continue to have to go to Escambia County to have our autopsies done, and we have to take evidence over there and then bring evidence back. It's just a manpower and time drain on our agency. When in years past, when we've had less population and less crime, we had our own associate medical examiner performing those autopsies and evidence collection and the like here in Okaloosa County, so that you didn't have to spend 2 hours, 3 hours on the road driving back and forth. And so we hope to get the medical examiner to either build or locate their office in a central area. They're on the very end of this district, which makes it very inconvenient and costly for Walton and Okaloosa County, or bring the associate medical examiner that we paid for, our two counties paid for, back to this side of the district, so that we can save time and money.
That's going to be a joint effort, right?
That is a joint effort with ourselves, Sheriff Atkinson, myself, and both our Board of County Commissioners, as well as Dr. Minier, the medical examiner. We always want to improve our facilities. We hope to get a road cut in at our firing range, and then acquire a little piece of property adjoining it to build our driving pad, so that we can do offensive and defensive driving, not with just our deputies and personnel, but also kids in our Teen Driver Challenge program. Our volunteers have been just tremendous. Our crime prevention program has been tremendous. I can't tell you how many people go to our free firearm safety course. Of course, that's one of those challenges we're facing, these soft targets, the number of church shootings we've seen. We've met with all the pastors in our community, north and south, and briefed them on the current affairs and what the law says in regards to justifiable use of force, and coming up with a security plan for them. Our schools continue to be the best in the state as far as just the environment that our kids are in. They're very safe, and I'm just very proud of our school resource officers, who are nationally and state renowned in regards of that program and that leadership there.
Let's move on now to our next group of fugitives as of today's taping date.
And first up is Brandon Anton Michael Rogers. He's 21 years old, last known to live on Kelly Road in Niceville, and law enforcement is looking for him for hit and run, as well as a violation of probation for possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia and domestic violence battery.
Okay, I'm going to take a stab at this. Pamela Shutty, 53 years old, wanted by Walton County Sheriff's Office for trafficking in a controlled substance, possession of a controlled substance by misrepresentation, fraud, forgery, or deception, and last known to live in Santa Rosa Beach.
And call 863-TIPS if you know where 37-year-old Edward Lamont Fountain is located. He's wanted for failure to appear for carrying a concealed weapon, possession of a weapon ammo by convicted felon, possession of a controlled substance and narcotics equipment, and finally, driving while license suspended or revoked, last known to live on Wilson Street up in Crestview.
Seamus Mason Cotner Marshall, last called Mary Esther home. He's 22. He's wanted for violating probation on charges of battery and fraud.
And deputies are still searching for 48-year-old George Monroe Emmerich II, and he's wanted for violation of probation for domestic violence, strangulation, and aggravated battery.
We're all going to celebrate when this next person's taken into custody.
Yes.
Alexis Wilmer Mondragon, 33, wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for sexual battery, sex offenses against a child, and lewd and lascivious molestation. His last known address, Spencer Drive in Fort Walton Beach. Please contact us if you know where he could be located.
And another new face to this month's show is 23-year-old Christopher Lee Deans. He's wanted for violation of probation for burglary and grand theft of a motor vehicle, last known to live on Taylor Street in Fort Walton Beach.
Moving to the Walton County Sheriff's Office, they're looking for Brittany Linnell Sanders. She's wanted for VOP on creating, using, or possessing counterfeit credit cards with intent to use counterfeit information.
And the Walton County Sheriff's Office is also still looking for Joshua James Picard. He's wanted for a violation of probation for possession with intent to sell, manufacture, or deliver a controlled substance, possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia, last known to live up in Defuniak Springs.
And the Fort Walton Beach Police Department would like your assistance if you've got any information on where to find Juan Ramon Marquez. Marquez is wanted by them for trafficking in stolen property.
Roderick James Rutterson Jr., who was last known to live on Mooney Road in Fort Walton Beach, he's wanted for possession of synthetic narcotics within 1,000 feet of a school and failure to appear for driving while license suspended or revoked.
I'll take a look at Mark Robert Fitzgerald. The Walton County Sheriff's Office is looking for him for grand theft and contracting without a license. His last known address was in Santa Rosa Beach.
Stephen Gabriel Arnett is 36 years old. He's wanted for violation of probation for domestic violence battery and non-payment of child support, last known to live on Tupelo Avenue in Fort Walton Beach.
And last on this list, John Henry Bonner, wanted by the Fort Walton Beach Police Department for grand theft, violation of the Pawnbrokers Act, and non-payment of child support.
Now, the recent school shooting in South Florida terrorized an entire community and sent another wave of horror across the country. Now, Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office school resource officers are training constantly for that type of dreaded scenario, hoping they never have to use it.
And when it comes to reacting to that type of crisis, the best training is going to be the most realistic training. Think virtual reality, and they've got a chance to do that out at Northwest Florida State College's Public Safety Center. They're giving school resource officers and other law enforcement professionals as well as students an incredible opportunity to hone their skills. The video that we're going to show that they were reviewing and training with is so realistic that we actually opted not to show most of the scenes that the officers were confronting. It's realistic enough to be totally unnerving to the untrained. A man with a gun in a school setting, the sounds of terrified students and gunfire. But in this case, it's an advanced computer simulation training tool. It's at Northwest Florida State College's Public Safety Center, and it's sharpening the skills of school resource officers from the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office.
There's auditory cues where we have the room wired with sound. They're hearing gunshots. They're hearing it's an active shooting at a school. They're hearing the kids screaming. We have images of injured individuals laying about, and we also have suspects, the role players in the actual simulator, and they have to react to the suspect's actions as if they have to do it out on the streets.
It will provide as close to lifelike training as you can get these days. We're able to critique officers when they go through this and let them know what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. It is definitely a tool of which is an advanced from anything else that we've seen thus far out at the college. It provides us that ability to put them into a scenario to see how they're going to react before an actual event occurs.
The realism, combined with the ability to debrief each officer on everything from tactics to decision-making and shooting skills, makes this computer-simulated system an incredibly beneficial training tool.
Each scenario that the SROs go through, we're able to debrief them. We show them where their shot placements are, if they have to draw their weapon and fire at the suspect. We also kind of share what tactics they can use during situations such as an active shooter situation.
And Northwest Florida State College is providing that critical training, which is also available to Law Enforcement Academy cadets as well as local law enforcement professionals already in the field, free of charge.
We've got students that are going to be using this. We have opened up the Milo system to any law enforcement agency that is wanting to use it. We've talked to FDLE. We've already talked to, we had the Department of Corrections come through it the other day. So it is pretty much opened up. It's going to give us just another added benefit for the students. It's another tool, an advanced tool to use to train these guys before they get out on the streets. It's an outstanding tool to have.
Get him out of here. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep moving.
Now, we first produced that video back in 2014, but thought it was worth showing again, and the SROs continue to use that training method and other training methods constantly. They're always in training mode.
Always. And of course, always remember, in an active shooter situation, run away if you can't. But if you can't run, hide. And if you can't hide, fight. And it's always good to remind everyone in an effort to prevent these type of situations, if you see something, say something.
And you can also just Google active shooter training, what to do, and go on there and get some really good videos, informational videos on how to react.
Absolutely.
So keep that in mind.
Now, local law enforcement routinely gets reports of scam artists calling area residents, pretending they represent law enforcement and claiming the person failed to appear for jury duty, so must pay a fine or face arrest.
And they're so brazen, they're actually spoofing the numbers of local law enforcement agencies or government entities. A Dothan, Alabama resident recently shared this latest twist on the scheme, leaving a voicemail pretending to be a dispatcher talking to a law enforcement officer.
1012 dispatch. I need a deputy sent out to a residence for 1012 for an avoidance of civic duty and a failure to appear. 1012 was notified. We've logged them in. We lost contact. So at this time, the system's asking for updates. We couldn't make it. At this time, we're signing off on the warrants. If I have a deputy anywhere near, we'll dispatch a deputy out to that resident. At this time, I had no choice, but we did activate the warrants for your arrest, sir. Once you're located or run through our NTIC database, photo enforcement, citation, etc. Currently, at this time, we couldn't make contact, so we are activating the warrants for your arrest.
Now, in this case, during a previous call, the individual or the scammer, in fact, claimed to be a court employee, and he said the citizen was facing an arrest warrant for failure to report to jury duty. That's the common theme that they're using. However, in this case, he told him he could meet him immediately and pay a fine in lieu of an arrest. And during the callback, he identified himself as a deputy, stated he's only going to accept cash or a money pack for $985, so there's a clue, and that it could be purchased at Office Depot. Well, at that point, of course, the con game was up, and the citizen wanted us to warn others, to warn you about this scam. Next up, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office recently recognized its Deputy of the Year and all its other outstanding employees for 2017.
That's right, and the great deeds of each of these individuals is outlined on the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. But here's a look at those recognized, and a big congratulations to all. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office remains dedicated to trying to locate a 13-year-old girl who disappeared from her Fort Walton Beach area home apartment in February of 1990.
Sadly, Andrea Durham's disappearance remains a mystery, but investigators are hoping someone has information that can change that. Andrea Durham was only 13 years old when she disappeared without a trace from her home at Royale Apartments on Colonial Drive back on February 1st, 1990. Her mother last saw her around 7:30. Her mom was leaving for a meeting and Andrea was doing household chores.
She was vacuuming up the house, and when they returned home, the door was open and the vacuum was still in the middle of the floor, and Andrea was gone.
Andrea's purse, her makeup, her clothes, all still in the home. There were no signs of forced entry, no signs of a struggle, no signs of foul play. Andrea Durham's disappearance remains a mystery.
We had a few incidences where we had some leads, but they did not pan out. We're still looking for any information that we can get to hopefully find her or, resolve this issue.
Andrea's case has been profiled in local and national media with advanced stage photos done to show how she might look today. If you have any information about the disappearance of Andrea Durham on February 1st, 1990, contact the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office at 850-651-7400 or contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers at 850-863-TIPS.
And again, anyone with any information about Andrea's disappearance can contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers. Remember, it's 100% anonymous, but I know that after 28 years, that family would like to have some kind of closure, or at least know what happened to Andrea. So,
and there is always hope that you can solve these cold cases. Our agency, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, and other agencies in the area have solved some of these cases that date back decades. So if you've got that vital piece of information, they can certainly use it.
And next up, we're going to go to our next list of fugitives that we're trying to locate. First up is a familiar face to the show, Daniel Wesley Arthur. He's 34 years old. He's wanted for felony neglect of an elderly person or disabled adult without causing great bodily harm, possession of a controlled substance by misrepresentation, fraud, forgery or deception, and theft. That was a mouthful. Last known address was in Fort Walton Beach.
And Ricky Joe Hawkins' last known address was Northwest Racetrack Road in Fort Walton Beach. He's wanted for violating probation on charge of improper exhibition of a weapon.
Last but certainly not least is Kendrick Dallas Wilson. He's 26 years old. He's wanted for violation of probation for possession of cocaine and marijuana, last known to live in Mary Esther. And now, if you remember last month, we were talking about the planning stages that Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers board members were in for the annual Crawfish Boil fundraiser. Well, we have set a date. It's going to be Saturday, April 21st, and it's actually going to be at the same location, Uptown Station there in Fort Walton Beach. We're also going to have the 5K Mud Bug Run Walk that we always have as well, that benefits the Explorers, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office Explorers. But we will start selling the crawfish at 11 o'clock. It's kind of first come, first serve. In the past several years, we've actually run out of crawfish completely, and I think that included last year's 1,700 pounds. But we're also going to have our live Zydeco crew. They're going to be there again this year, so really lots of fun. And we just want to remind folks, this is done so that Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers can raise funds to help with the program, to help with rewards, things like that, because we do not receive any taxpayer dollars. It is a nonprofit organization that is run by a volunteer board of directors. So check out our website, lots of information on there. And of course, if you're interested in being a sponsor, we still have wonderful sponsorship availabilities as well.
Good deal. Now that's going to do it for this edition of Okaloosa Eye on Crime. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.